Well, I think what's been most fascinating about today is to see that there is no one thing that is happening with programmatic TV. Each of the different countries is evolving differently. They're trialing different ways to sell their inventory programmatically. But the one problem that they all face is really enabling them to essentially make a more efficient transaction. So, and although the problems are regional, it's kind of a global, they're all kind of facing a global, a kind of global problem to attack it.
So tell us about data and panel data, census-level data, the availability of data, what's there, what you need, and sort of how that might be developing.
Well, at the moment, I'd say the data that's being used is census-level data is still quite siloed. So if we're looking at the BARB in the UK and the Nielsen's within Europe, it's still quite siloed and doesn't really take into account, I guess, the way that people are engaging and consuming the broadcaster's content. So it's definitely a barrier at the moment to, I'd say, a wider adoption. Although we are seeing some progress in the UK. I think Project Dovetail is an example of kind of BARB starting to count and attribute views across tablets and mobiles for broadcasters.
Great, and what are some cool projects that you could talk about that SpotX has been doing with your publishing partners in Europe?
Everything we do is cool. Well, I think some of the really exciting areas that we're seeing going into next year is the rise in OTT, and that is on the kind of publisher side. The number of impressions or potential ad impressions on the platform has grown exponentially, and it's a huge area of focus for us going into 2017. Another area that we think kind of impacts our publishers the most, maybe not cool, but very necessary, is the death of Flash. So it's been talked about for 4 or 5 years probably. It's kind of probably death by 1,000 cuts, but I think it's finally here, and kind of the emergence of HTML5, which actually the supply side have taken a leadership role in and adopting that.
Okay, let me just ask you, not to get too deep in the weeds, but why is, and I know this conversation has been going on about Flash for a while, but just break it down why that is important to the sellers, to your clients.
Definitely, because ultimately sellers want to offer a seamless experience for users across any device that they're going to consume content, and unfortunately Flash doesn't work across every different device. So in order for them to offer a player in all environments, they need to use a different format, being HTML5. So this is kind of why it's been so vital in order to create this, and in order to sell holistically. Ultimately you need a kind of technology that underpins it that's going to work.
Great, and what else is next? Or how do you see things shaping up? And particularly in terms of your competitive set or the marketplace. And there's some big players. I know you're very much aligned with RTL, although you're independent. But what's next? What's sort of the goal for SpotX? Well, maybe I could sort of say it this way: like, as we look to the new year, what do you hope is accomplished by SpotX and by the industry?
So I think we'll probably see some increased consolidation across the industry. And to be fair, there's not that many kind of players within our space that are left to be acquired, but I'd imagine you'll see some smaller buys happening to kind of fill out people's stacks. And I would like to see, I'd say, kind of increased experimentation from the broadcasters. They've kind of been dipping their toe in the water and trying things and doing it on their own terms, and I'd like to see some of that start to become more than a rounding error to their businesses.